Hey guys, what do you get when you mix underwater scooters, the threat of crocodiles, and a missing husband at sea? Oh, and did I mention drone dodging bird attacks and an Irish pub obsession? Buckle up, because this leg of our soul searcher journey from Cairns to Lizard Island was a wild, beautiful, and occasionally terrifying ride. And yeah, we almost lost Bob. Stay with us. We said goodbye to our rental van, had one last glorious dinner in Cairns at a place called Schnitz. I mean, who knew a schnitzel could be so emotional? Then we turned our eyes back to the sea. Our destination, Lizard Island, 140-some nautical miles and about 18 hours of cruising north. The next morning, Soul Searcher pulled out of Cairns Marina, shimmering in that early light like she knew she was headed somewhere magical. We made a pit stop at Green Island. Beautiful place, but wait for it. They have crocodiles. Yep, they're salties. They occasionally swim over from the mainland like they own the place. So while the water looked gorgeous, I stayed well above it. That night, we cruised. While Bob and I blissfully snoozed, Cindy and Art took the helm in shifts, like the rock stars they are. We arrived at Lizard Island on June 30th. Watson's Bay, folks. Can't describe the color of the water. Okay, I'll try. I mean, it looked like a Photoshop filter called Paradise. We all sort of collapsed into our day. Cindy made one of her legendary throw-together meals. Art checked things off a checklist like a pro. Bob kayaked. And I did my usual helpful stuff like wave at the fish and play with my video stuff. The boat was cleaned, and we were ready to start our exploration of Lizard Island. We traveled all night to get to Lizard Island. It is a beautiful place, a practically perfect day, other than the fact that it's too windy to fly the drone. And Bob has been out on the kayak all day. Today, Art and Cindy put together the new tiny little dinghy that we're going to use when we have to get up on shore. It's small enough that we can pick it up and carry it so that we won't get stranded. The big dinghy we can't carry, it's really heavy. And then I've been working on continuing medical education classes all day today, and then putting together my drones and my gimbal and my camera stuff and getting all ready to do some hopefully pretty awesome video. Lizard Island is a national park, a sacred indigenous site, and a haven for marine biologists. Hello, Charles Darwin Foundation, anyone? Captain Cook climbed a hill here, now called Cook's Look, to find a way through the reef. We didn't climb Cook's Look, but we did test out our new toys, Scuba Jet Pros. They're the Teslas of underwater adventure.
So you push go around like that, and then you faster.
Good.
Slow.
Yep.
And you don't have to always do that if you're pretty okay with it.
Once it's on you, you just push.
Yeah.
What's up next? The Scuba Jet Pro. This is our awesome new toy this trip, and Bob is trying it out. It gives Bob the opportunity to wander further. And unlike the kayak, he'll be underwater, for the most part, where we can barely see him, just his snorkel. Foreshadowing? You tell me. Bob and I got our first lesson, did sea scooter races, and yes, I nearly face planted into a coral bommy. Bonus, we mounted a GoPro to them, and we got so much underwater footage I could make a meditation reef video. Tempted? Let me know. Another day in the books, and then sharks! They stayed mostly underwater, but it was a pretty awesome sight nonetheless. Here comes the big one. This is the big one. I like the splashing and
Uh-huh.
two big ones. It's funny, I don't remember all those boats there. We felt alone in the beauty of the shadow of Lizard Island. So here's a few facts about Lizard Island. It's a granite island on the northern part of the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland, Australia. It lies about 27 kilometers off Cooktown and forms a part of the Lizard Island group within Lizard Island National Park. The Aboriginal people have been the traditional owners for millennia, and it has been occupied for at least 6,000 years. It's the earliest dated offshore island habitation in the region. It was considered a sacred place. Boys were brought there for initiation and tribal meetings. Dreamtime lore holds that Lizard Island is the body of a giant stingray, with nearby isles forming its tail. Archaeological finds, including pottery over 1,800 years old, show islanders built sophisticated ocean-going canoes and engaged in extensive maritime trade. In short, Lizard Island was always a cultural and economic extension of the mainland country. It's a really, really cool and special place. But let's suffice it to say it was an important maritime stop in the Great Barrier Reef. We spent several days up at Lizard Island. Because I was a little bit crocodile paranoid, I was watching behind me, probably more than necessary, instead of just concentrating on the beauty of the reef that was right under my nose. We all took turns with the Scuba Jet Pro. It's really great, especially in current or if you're tired. It helps extend your swimming range quite a bit. This is a product I would love to endorse. However, they went out of business recently. So alas, our next scooters will be of a different brand. We saw so much gorgeous reef right off the boat. This is just a glimpse. Those days at Lizard Island were some of the most fulfilling, enjoyable moments aboard Soul Searcher to date. We had a wonderful time exploring. It's so nice to see Cindy and Art get off the boat for some much needed playtime. Haha, they left us to mind the boat. The reef out at Lizard Island was the most pristine and varied that we'd experienced to date.
Next up, ribbon reefs. Remote, unreal, no fancy names, just like Reef 9, Reef 11, sort of like secret agent briefings. And the outer reef, what can I say? This is definitely on the fringe of extreme and probably one of the most exciting things we ever did. The outer reef is basically the barrier between the ocean and the relatively calmer and more protected areas within its boundaries. If you look at an aerial view of the reef system, it creeps closer to the mainland as it snakes northward. That makes it more accessible. Experiencing this was a very rare thing, humbling and awesome. We took turns snorkeling together, and then Bob decided he was going to go out on his own for one last snorkel before the weather turned. And the weather was turning. We didn't want to get caught out there. And you can see that with less sun and more cloud cover, the snorkeler in the water is more difficult to see. Still, we did our best to keep an eye on him. However, if you lose track of someone, it might take time to find them again when there's only a little snorkel bobbing up and down out of the water. He disappeared off our radar. We were watching. We had our brand new, really awesome binoculars, and poof, he was gone. I turned into a caffeinated meerkat scanning the sea. Just as I was about to initiate an emergency search, guess who pops up behind the stern, grinning? Yeah, Bob had zipped underwater and snuck back to the boat. I cried, then punched him lightly.
We gotta see him coming back.
Never went far.
Lesson? No solo snorkels, even if you're part fish. And speaking of fish, or mammals, we had a glorious bit of sun and a dolphin encounter with dozens of friends escorting us for a couple of miles. I'll spare you from seeing all the footage. Let's just suffice it to say it was really, really incredible. Then we turned south, Hope Island, peaceful, a little spooky, and beautifully empty. B-roll footage incoming. Well, we were pretty grateful to have Bob back on board, unharmed, and right where he knew he was all the time. He will tell you he was never lost. He knew exactly where he was. And then the upwind, yes, upwind journey back down the reef. Somehow, when you go one way and you're downwind and you come back and the wind is still in the same direction, all of a sudden you're upwind again and you've got to fight the waves and the bouncing and the discomfort, and that's what we did. We spent the first night of our trip back at Hope Islands. The dawn was beautiful, but we knew the weather wouldn't hold, so we booked it out of there. The next day started out fair, but bumpy. By our halfway point, we were passing Cape Tribulation, and I understood its name down to my very bones. It was definitely a tribulation. And then we hit Low Island, spent another night, flew the drone, took some amazing shots, and got buzzed by a few birds. Repeatedly. I swear they had a vendetta. Turns out the island is a bird sanctuary, and I didn't really know that. Also turns out, spoiler, I was not supposed to be flying a drone there. Oops. The park ranger who hunted us down was really looking for me, but he found our friend Chris, who was minding the boat in the absence of Art and Cindy, who'd taken a vacation. No fine, but yeah, I got a stern talking to, and that would have been one very expensive drone mistake if he hadn't been willing to overlook it. I was apologetic and humbled, and I think that my honesty in admitting my mistake saved me that very big fine. That was a lucky miss.
We rolled back into Cairns, a little salty and a lot happy. We were so grateful to see that marina, I can't even tell you. Initially, we had planned on making our way all the way back to Hamilton Island before we flew out for our next trip, which, spoiler, we're going to Africa on a charity water trip. But we knew that as bad as the upwind passages were, we were not going to be comfortable at 2 to 3 meter seas every day, just getting banged around for another 3 days. So we stocked up on supplies. Cindy and I got pedicures. I may or may not have consumed a McDonald's Coke Zero Icy every single day. I mean, 0 calories, endless joy. Why has the USA not introduced these yet? And then the skies opened up. A huge storm rolled in offshore. We spent the next week just hanging around town, watching the clouds swirl and the wind whip. But really, it wasn't as bad inshore. Seriously, like you get 2 blocks off the ocean and you never know a storm is raging out there a mile offshore. Waves were 4 meters high, so no way were we getting back to Hamilton Island in that. Safety first, adventure second. So we booked ourselves a flight to Sydney from Cairns and ended up with our highlight of the week being a trip to PJ O'Brien's Irish pub. If you know Bob, you know. The man collects Irish pubs the way some people collect coffee mugs. He was in heaven, and the food was actually phenomenal.
Somebody's talking very melodramatic back.
So we made a pivot. Our plans to sail south got grounded, and instead we flew off on a whole new kind of journey to learn more about Charity Water and the life-changing wells they build in Malawi, Africa. That's coming up in our next episode. It's a big one, a change of pace, a change of perspective, and something that touched us more deeply than we ever really expected. Well, at least me. Bob's been touched by it for about 10 years, but I had to see it to really feel it. You're not going to want to miss this next episode. So we'll be back soon with more Soul Searcher travels. And in the meantime, we'd really love it if you kept on searching. And a little shout out to our grandsons, Sammy and Owen. Hey guys, Lolly and Pops love you. Keep on searching.